This is the EGC 20k Age of Empires 4 tournament. The quarterfinals are on, the last 8 generals are battling it out, and a new war has been waged. Good morning! You've woken up and chosen to watch death. My name's Anuki, and I'll be your entertainment reaper. Let's introduce the generals. Settling in the northwest, conducting a French test, glowing radiant red, it is Kasva. It's a good day to scroll hard. Settling in the southeast, their blue dabba-dee-dabba Delhi Sultanate, it's the general known as Vortix. Although artificial intelligence would pronounce it Vortix, which I think sounds like some kind of superhero general-like name. This is the first match of a best of 5 since we're in the quarterfinals. The semifinals will also be a best of 5, and the finals will be a best of 7. The map is Lipany. If we bring up the map roster, we can see the planned, randomized, and agreed upon map list. Both players know what maps will appear in what rounds, and that will influence their choice of civilizations. First though, let's praise the accomplishments of our generals making it into the quarterfinals. Vortix defeated JNG, Chart, Anthodius, the Sniper, Kelzahar, and previously Jordan AoE. Kasva, however, defeated people with much more awesome names. He defeated a cool cat, Bichu II, Dark. That's right, they fought Darkness itself. Then Hagrid, which I assume is some low-budget Harry Potter. Black Widow from the freaking Avengers. And then lastly, Tato. AoE. So both generals here defeated members of the AoE clan. Had they had won, they'd be fighting each other. I just thought that was worth a mention. So this is Lipany. There's not much to say about Lipany. It does have some raised, elevated areas and usually has a few patches of stilt forest in the middle that bear some significance. What's more important here is that Vortix is Delhi Sultanate, which has been voted as one of the weakest civilizations to play. So what has changed in the last week? Well, firstly, players need to win 3 matches instead of 2 compared to last week's EGC matches. So they need to win with 3 different civilizations. Those are the rules. If you win with one civilization, you cannot play with them again. Secondly, Delhi Sultanate can get monks early. With a little bit of Dark Age magic research, they're able to capture the sacred sites early on, and I think that is the plan of attack here, because outside of that, there are very few bonuses to Delhi Sultanate. We can bring up the Civ overview to show that and talk about how they intend to tackle France. As we all know, France by now, they have one thing in mind that's centered around attacking, or more accurately, raiding with knights and getting to a point where mass knights happens. We'll likely see Kasva go that route. Vortix, though, will be wanting to pump out units early to get the sacred sites and protect them. The School of Cavalry for Kasva and the Dome of Faith for Vortix. Those are the landmark choices, and the Dome of Faith is a building which allows the training of scholars at half the price. That's 75 gold. Now, because we haven't featured Delhi Sultanate yet in the first tournament ever, a quick explanation. All their technology is free, but it takes longer to research. They can speed up research by putting scholars into mosques, which is why they get access to the scholars at the beginning of the game. Once Vortix hits feudal age, things might ramp up fast. The School of Cavalry has been completed. Royal Knights will be on their way, so very quickly before that happens, a few adverts. No, not those adverts, good ones! If you're interested in competitive Age of Empires 4 stuff, then stuff your face full of this. They have a Discord, and you can discover weekly ongoing events with news and bigger events of the future. Perhaps you want to participate in them yourself, in which case you've got to check it out. Likewise, we here at Ironcast will cover some of those events. It depends if we have time. We're also planning our own events, which are as competitive as you want to be, including the start of Civilization Wars, team-based civilization restricted 4v4s and other stuff. So 4v4 Mongols versus Chinese, or 2v2 Abbasid Dynasty versus Delhi Sultanate. Check the video description for all the information, links, and whereabouts. Furthermore, I know this is technically advertising, but these videos are not monetized. There's something about putting adverts on that makes my skin itch and my cat unlikable. If there are no adverts, then the only sane thing to do is kick the electronic device and show it who's in control. Now, let's resume like none of this ever happened. One knight scores a villager kill on the berries to the south, whilst another knight wandering in the north. Barracks is ready, making spears, and in theory you should be able to make all the spearmen you need to counter Royal Knights. It's just a matter of mobility, since the Royal Knights will always outrun spears. So the spears have gone to the south to try and deal with that knight, and precisely like this, they just run round the spears to engage the villagers. Knights will always have the say in whether to engage or not. It's unfortunate for Vortix to have to defend far north and far south for their golden berries. The map, of course, has lots of random factors to them. The best case scenario is to have all your resources consolidated together and you don't have to spread your defenses out. But here's the great thing about Delhi Sultanate. You don't need gold for tech. We've already covered that. Vortix, if you've noticed, isn't going for an outpost on that gold like so many others usually do against France, because they don't need gold. They don't need to protect it. They are done with gold for now. They won't need it until going to the castle age, unless they need a few extra scholars, but then they can just send villagers back and forth as needed. So here we are, on the sacred site, point being captured, berries being raided by knights. Everything is going to plan. With these sacred sites starting to be contested, Kasva might shift focus to trying to control them, or at least take control away from Vortix. Those sacred sites don't just end the game, each one provides 200 gold per minute. You're looking at less than 50 gold a minute per villager at most in the Imperial Age. So a sacred site might be worth 4, even 5 villagers on gold. With that information, you can see the power behind this strategy featuring Delhi Sultanate. Now, I do think that you'd be better off trying this plan on a map with choke points, a map where you can easily divide the map and keep one sacred site to yourself whilst trying to contest the other one. So there's Mongolian Heights, which is next in the map list, and there's Mountain Pass 2. Ooh, losing a knight there. Town Center range is not to be underestimated. The second sacred site, it's a ticking. The scholar with their bodyguard of spears looks pretty rad. This gold will probably contribute towards the castle age. And Kasva did purchase an archery range. If they were to focus on getting archers, that would quickly dispose of all the spears around. France, however, insists on Royal Knights no matter what. We can see a couple of archers now with the Royal Knights about to engage on 3 spears. The Knights should have nothing to fear. You need 2.5 spears to really fight a knight. Kasva changes their direction to the middle sacred site, and Vortix has got archers here. They would get chewed up by knights, but with the spears here, it kind of looks a bit too scary to stick around. 2 knights lost there. We can see now attention has shifted away from Vortix's settlement. And they did lose this right sacred site, but I think Vortix would prefer that. Keeping the fight in the middle. Keeping the fights purely military. No villagers involved or being hassled. Vortix can win these fights with just spears and archers, and they are overall easier to field than knights and archers. So long as they can deal with any archers Kasva brings, because they don't want to lose their spears to a lot of archers. In the end, Kasva was not able to fully decap the right sacred site, so it remains in Vortix's control. And they've amassed over 1,200 gold now. Also, the healing from the scholars would be great, trying to keep units fresh, because Royal Knights, French Royal Knights, do not play by the same rules as everyone else when they have the chivalry upgrade. They can self-heal. That wear and tear factor that traditional units have that has scarred so many opponents. But some scholarly healing can kind of offset that, if utilized. Vortix keeping ahead of the Archer game. And this is something to really praise. They are balancing their army extremely well. It may seem rather subtle, but that requires a keen, attentive eye to assess your opponent and what they are fielding, and then building what you need to match that. Vortix is thinking, I cannot let my opponent have more archers than me. If they get more archers than me, my spears are as good as dead. They are countering archers with more archers, allowing the spears to flourish at their ideal matchup. You cannot have a big army on both sacred sites though, so it is back and forth between the two. The spears skewering the two knights, whilst the archers fight amongst themselves. Kasva orders the knights into the archers. It's a good moment to seize. Vortix didn't retreat and is left imbalanced. The lack of spears is noticeable. Even 3 knights can do a lot of harm to this group of archers. They make their way back to the settlement, where they will need to rally up a larger force. Will they have lost control of both of the sacred sites now? There's another barracks being constructed. The House of Learning is completed. This has a few unique technologies you can only get if you build this landmark. The interesting ones being mosques heal nearby units, 50% increased sight on outposts, and one that takes 22 minutes to research without scholars that increases damage of men-at-arms and lancers by 3. There's a scholar garrisoned in the barracks and archery range, which makes them produce twice as fast. With all of their villages on food and wood, they'll certainly be able to support that level of production. But now that they're in the castle age, it would be great to see some men-at-arms going on. But for that, they'll need to get back on gold. Kasva is hiding in the stealth forest. Vortix already has 2 men-at-arms, which will soon discover the threat. Even with a scout, it appears to surprise Vortix. That's because Kasva's army was not at the edge of the forest. Those men-at-arms are going to change the tide of this fight. And I hope everyone is watching, because I've been downvoted way too hard on Reddit stating that men-at-arms are the counter to archers. I can't sleep at night because of it. Kasva went on and retreated. Poor scout, though. Really wish scouts would learn their place in the world instead of behind all friendly units. Maybe some kind of non-combat toggle. Kasva still trying to find some way to raid. Does disrupt the wood line. Men-at-arms might not be fast. They might not outpower a knight. But Kasva doesn't want to waste time fighting them. Vortix is back to securing the sacred sites. Still serves a grand purpose of gold and is a worthy enough distraction. Wow! Look how quick this platoon of men-at-arms came out. Vortix could keep focusing on men-at-arms. They don't counter knights, but knights don't counter men-at-arms either. What they do hard counter, though, is archers. What they don't counter, though, or stop, is enemy archers killing your group of archers. Kasva has such a large division of archers. I'm not sure who you want to say wins this, because Kasva will run their archers away, and the men-at-arms will be relatively unscathed. Kasva focusing on a few villagers. That's a very far forward mill on the berries. So this engagement tips into Kasva's favor, yes, but they ultimately still have to solve this men-at-arms crisis. Even 20 archers firing into one of these Guardians of the Galaxy, they won't fall. Kasva just has to keep on running. The stealth forest breaks the engagement ever so slightly, giving them some more distance. Losing a few villagers, but remaining in control of 2 sacred sites. That's long-term gains for Vortix. And I've mentioned a lot about this is how France loses, points 1, 2, and 3. And point 2 on the list is getting to castle age and getting men-at-arms or crossbows. I wonder if we'll see some crossbows in the lineup to take on the knights. It just means that they can't run away so easily because of having ranged attack units. Still no sign of castle age for Kasva. Vortix charging ahead. And it might not look like there's enough here. But I assure you, once those knights are out of the equation, those archers are not in a good position, surrounded by men-at-arms. The knights stay behind as the archers flee. Nearby villagers in red get into the outpost or risk getting dead. And you know what else men-at-arms are not bad at? Withstanding outpost arrows and dodging them down. They're like a miracle unit. They can do everything. Vortix has a few soldiers chasing deeper into enemy territory. Whilst this goes on, they'll soon be met with fierce resistance. This outpost will fall, and its villagers will lay in the ground awaiting for the day to be excavated by archaeologists. Some of the soldiers return to formation. It's a strong showing from Vortix. Are they going to bother with siege equipment? Kasva goes to have another swing at Vortix. The charge damage will chunk some of the knights. Perhaps if Kasva keeps repeatedly charging in and using that 3-second bonus damage that the Royal Knights get after a charge, they could weaken the men-at-arms. However, with blue reinforcements arriving, new construction options, shake it baby, battle victory for Vortix. The torches are in hand, and thankfully, they are not going to burn down the villagers. They're just going to bow them down. Praise be! Hiding in the town center means no work is getting done, and those men-at-arms can take plenty of arrow fire. How long does Vortix want to stay at the Kasva Inn for? Perhaps long enough to capture a third sacred site? They've accomplished so much. But their ambitions only need to stretch so far for what counts as a win in this game. The order to retreat is issued. A couple of men with arms die in doing so. They were weak anyway. You only want the strongest of men-at-arms. And you can only do that by constantly fighting and seeing who remains. Kasva attempts sneaky double decapping. This gives Vortix something else to do rather than just hanging around Kasva town. That long incursion destabilized wood production. And without wood, only Royal Knights can be made. Not that it matters with so many men-at-arms, but it does mean no pesky archers for a short time. Vortix stripping away all of Kasva's possible actions. They'll try and raid again. It's like a turn-based game where your turn doesn't matter. And look at the farms covering the land. Those Delhi Sultanates living the good life. I bet they have little umbrellas in their bread. And sure, the occasional mosquito might ride in, but it's barely noticeable. It's a small disaster, one that Vortix can seemingly flat out ignore as they go for another attack. Not going to bother with siege, it seems. Ah, yes, there's no replacement for true hard labor. A good day's work throwing torches. We don't want any of that new age technology. A giant log on a swinging mechanism with a protective shielded barrier mounted on a frame atop of a friction circumvention device to traverse entire landscapes. What a load of old cobble. Torches, that's how we did things in my day. If something stood in your way, you'd torch it. Stables, houses, people. It was all torchable back then. Some of it you could even eat afterwards. Kasva getting chased away by spears. Vortix went ahead and made some more of those, knowing Knight was going to be the only remaining threat after taking away the possibility of archers, but there just really wasn't an answer for Kasva. I think this match is quite possibly the perfect highlight of France's weakness. All the sacred sites are captured. They are so predictable, and the counters are all here in the game with no balance patches. It's just that so many players have come from different backgrounds expecting their own solution to work. And Vortix is showing that even the civilization considered the weakest can formulate a strategy against traditional French play. And it looks incredibly strong. The fire enters the town center. Vortix can certainly stick around for as long as they want now. They've got a big enough army. Yes. They'll take a kill if they can get it, though. Everyone turn around to get a piece of the night action. Like a zombie horde, these knights are left for dead, and the white flag is raised. France has suffered a defeat. Victory for Vortix as Delhi Sultanate. That's a first win in this best of 5. Next up, we'll be heading over to Mongolian Heights. Don't you miss it, because confirmation is in. Kasva wants payback. And we'll be playing Delhi Sultanate themselves. This is no doubt a match, a legendary match for the ages. But I don't have time to break it down. There's more to watch. My name's Anuki. Do come along to the Ironcast Discord. That's discord.me/Ironcast. I'm not allowed to venture forth until I've gathered a party, so let's get this party started. I'll see you for round 2.